Starting from the beginning, welcome to Yoga for Beginners, talking foundations, functions, and flow. In our practice today, we're going to preamble a little bit with some information that I find really useful when we start a yoga practice. And for me, knowledge is power. When we understand what's happening in our body from a physiological, knowledgeable, tangible perspective, we can better connect to it at a deeper level. So that's really important to have that foundation. So we'll talk about the types of yoga, a really short anatomy lesson, like really short, and what you need. And then we start with some basic poses. And again, as we're going through this little presentation, please feel free to ask questions. So what is yoga? People have talked about this in many, many shapes and forms. Basically, it's a togetherness. It's a union between body, mind, and spirit, and an access point to inner self. And it was created many, many years ago, probably one of the oldest types of movement that was ever recorded by Patanjali. And Patanjali was about 2,000 years ago, came into something called the Yoga Sutra. He created what we know today as the 8 limbs of yoga. And they're in this pretty flower here. And what it really does is represents a pathway. And interesting enough, Western yoga is really around the poses, what we call asana. But he brought forth to us a lot of different ways to get to an inner self. And part of that is a path around moral disciplines. It's about positive observances. It's about posture, which is the asana. Breathing is really important in the basis and in the path to yoga. There's also something called the withdrawal of senses. There is focused concentration. There's also this meditative absorption, which we're going to do a little bit of as well. And also enlightenment at the end of it. It's like this higher level of learning. So Patanjali laid this out in multiple pathways, but the asana, the actual posing, is actually just one of 8 limbs. So that's important to remember, because while we'll do our motions, while we'll do our physical practice, a lot of it has to do with things that aren't physical at all. So that's just a real high level of what is and what is the basis of yoga. In terms of the types of yoga, a lot of people ask me, what kind of yoga do you teach, and what's the differences between the different yogas? There are tons of different yogas because there are tons of yoga teachers that actually certify yoga instructors. So I have gone through a 200-hour certification through yoga. There's 200, 300, 500, and multiple others. The type of yoga that I was trained in was something called Anusara yoga, which actually doesn't even exist anymore. It was a combination of multiple yogas. And you might recognize some of these names: Hatha, Ashtanga, Bikram, Iyengar, Kundalini, Restorative, and Yin Yoga, each having a specific type of discipline behind it. So Hatha yoga is something that is usually slower or gentle. Ashtanga follows the same 6 principles, asanas, as you go through it. So there's an actual recipe to this. Bikram is often known as hot yoga. Bikram was created by Bikram. He was an Indian-born American guru who immigrated to the States in '71 and created this craze. There's a lot of controversy around Bikram himself, because there's always this idea that as a teacher, you hold a seat of power with your students. And he's gotten into a little bit of trouble along the way. And this isn't unique to Bikram. And this is why, as a teacher, I hold a commitment to be humble to the practice, to be humble to my students, to be humble to myself as I'm practicing. So it can represent hierarchy. However, the true essence of yoga is this unity. So this is where I come from when I teach. Iyengar, using a lot of props in Iyengar. I know some of you have been exposed to Iyengar. Eric, your old wife, I think, does it religiously. Phenomenal type of yoga. They practice, for example, how to place your hand in an entire hour. Like, it is very, very specific. And Iyengar, again, was a teacher from India who believed very strongly that yoga was a form of punishment, that in order to do things, it had to be strict. And he was known to actually come across and give you a little tap if you weren't doing something right. So again, very different types of yoga philosophies. Kundalini yoga deals with energies within the spine, restorative. My favorite, which is lots of props, holding poses in a completely relaxation pose. We're going to do a little bit of that restorative as well in some of our Shavasana, which is the end pose, the best pose. It's like chocolate at the end of the day. Yin yoga, holding poses for a long period of time, but not as long as restorative, and they're still active. And Anusara, as I spoke. Why do we care about the body human in yoga? Well, muscles, joints, and fascia. These are some really high level understandings about the body human, with 600 muscles over. And these, by the way, I Googled this. There's a lot of different numbers out there, but these are about the numbers: 600 muscles, 369 joints, and 20% of our body is made up of fascia. When we talk about muscles in our bodies, there's all kinds. There's muscles that support the skeleton system. There's smooth muscles. There's cardiac muscles. There's other muscles that actually attach to the bones and internal organs through our blood vessels. So the important thing to know about muscles is that they contract and they expand. Okay, there's a whole lot of other things that happen, but this is kind of the basis of what to understand when we come into yoga and muscles. Joints, when we talk about joints with all of them, there are very specific type of joints. There's hinge joints, like an elbow or a knee. There's a ball and socket joint, like your hip and your shoulder. There's sliding joints as well. So as we understand how yoga poses work, we have to be sincere to the movement of your joints. So this is something I take very seriously. And posture is about how do we align our skeletal system with our muscular system so that we have the best posture, the best element of energy that can flow through our bodies. I talk about fascia a lot as well. Fascia is like the fibrous connective tissue throughout the body and accounts for, like I said, 20% of the mass. It stores and moves water. It actually carries energy throughout the body. It acts like an electrical wiring system and holds our body together. So it's kind of wrapped around our muscles and our organs. It's like the container. And there was a long time that physio and yogis and even the medical system, when they were doing dissections, they would throw the fascia away. It wasn't even studied. And now there's a huge relationship between fascia, muscles, and joints. So we need to understand and kind of remind ourselves as we do our practice what that does in our body. And I'll continually talk about this as we move through our practice. It's really important, and I'll show you some really cool ways to access the fascia. What you need, well, I think you got it all. You got your mats, I could see that. I have delivered some blocks out there. I hope you have some. Blocks are a really important part of kind of that forgiveness, because there's a yoga practice that says if you don't use props, you're actually further ahead. And I do not subscribe to this. I think the more help, the better. Blocks help us lift the ground from the bottom up, which allows us to access connection to our body better and in a more gentle way. So we'll be using props. Next week, I'll ask you to bring your strap or your belt. We're not doing it this week, but you don't need much for that. Blankets are great in Shavasana, and I also subscribe to eye pillows, which I absolutely love. If you don't have one, let me know. My daughter actually got into doing them. But something to cover your eyes during Shavasana. Why is that important? It puts the lightest amount of weight on your eyeballs to push back into your eye muscles to actually kind of sink that softness into your eyes, and it helps you relax in a big way. Also, an open mind. Start with acceptance. Start with where you're at. It's not just a form of exercise. It's a way of actually existing in the world, a way of being, so to speak. And when we can start with acceptance, it allows us to actually release expectation. So right now, I want you to think to yourself, I want you to dig deep and think to yourself, release anything you think of what should happen today. If you can start with that, if you can start without that, what it is I need to do, be, look like, if you can kind of push that to the side, you will access parts of your mind, body that you will be surprised at. And it just provides you that doorway, that pathway to all other acceptance. Understanding the core of yoga, so talking a little bit about anatomy, talking about the philosophy is really interesting because it brings to it this idea of not needing to be extremely flexible or extremely strong. It's all about that integration and where you're at. I cannot stress enough the importance of breathing. At the end of this, we will wrap this up with a lot of pranayama, breathing exercises. Breathing actually causes incredible reactions to our parasympathetic nervous system, which allows us to level down our flight and fright and brings us into this place of grounding in a very subtle, safe way. And the beauty of it is, if you can breathe, you can do yoga. It's that simple. And also being comfortable in stillness. I think understanding that we find it challenging to be still, but we would rather, run away or do something. I'm a huge multitasker myself. I'm someone that constantly is on the go and have things in our hands, on our knees, and our screens. Yoga provides us the ability to embrace some stillness in our body and not think about just being in something, but being where you're at. And this goes back to that acceptance piece of it. One more piece I do want to cover is the idea of basic yoga poses. So most poses, so that you know, are associated with a story or a deity. And I'll also sprinkle this into our practice here. These are some of our basic yoga poses. We're going to spend some time today in prepping for downward facing dog. It is one of the most basic of the yoga poses, but it's also not that easy. It's a challenging pose. So we're going to break that down and prepare the body for downward facing dog. And it actually sets us up for other postures that really rely on the connection to joints and muscle contraction and extension. And one of the things I want to really stress, and I do this a lot in our practices, is something called ground reaction force. This is something that when we talk about how the body responds to the ground, one of the things we have to be really clear on is that there is a lot of energy that comes from the earth. And I'm going to do just a little sample of it with you with how we're going to start our practice. So we're going to start our practice with a little example of just getting into the knowledge of this thing called this ground energy. So we're going to start getting physical now. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I'm going to come into spotlighting myself. And we're going to start. I'm going to stop share. So you should see me now big on the screen. Is that yes? Yes, me.
Yep.
And I'm going to switch cameras now, and I am going to not get you. I'm still going to have you on. I'm still going to have you off of mute because I want you to experience this with me. So go ahead and come onto your mats in a standing position. And again, I'm giving you this idea of ground reaction force, the energy that comes into the earth. So just go ahead and stand tall. Okay, just give yourself a little shake, and we're going to get to the practice very shortly. But right now, I just want you to stand, and I want you to try, without doing anything, from this position, try to jump. Okay? Try to just take a little leap up. Okay, it's hard to do. Now I'm going to ask you to take a little leap by bending your knees. So bend your knees and now try to jump up. Right? Now try to jump up. So what is happening is that it's actually physics. In order to get that lift up from the earth, you have to do something to come down. So this is important because we always think we have to be really straight with our joints and really supported. And in some cases we do, particularly when it comes to balance. But if we're going to practice yoga with an understanding that Mother Earth is going to help us, then you have to really understand that ground reaction force. So try that again. Bend your knees and jump. And now straighten your knees and try to jump. Okay? Pretty much impossible. You need the earth energy to bring that to you. So that's just a little snippet, a little information for you as we start our practice. And I'm going to have you start your practice on your back. So here we go. Go ahead, lie on your mat, and I'm going to start your yoga practice. Welcome. And I'm going to go ahead and mute you now. So from this posture on your backs, I just want you to start getting the sensation of being at your own space, your own place in where you are. All right, so on your backs, I'd like you just to breathe in and breathe out comfortably. So nothing extraordinary, just find your breath out on your backs. Okay, and then just let your arms float to the either side, and maybe even close your eyes for a moment so that you can really connect to the earth below you and see how the earth connects and softens you. Okay, it actually just kind of cups you up and holds you there. It's supportive for you. Now I'd ask you to breathe, but breathe with intention and witnessing. So as you breathe in, I want you to say the words to yourself, I'm breathing in. And as you breathe out, say the words, I'm breathing out. And you might shorten that eventually to in and out. What I'm doing here is asking you to take notice of the very first thing we have in life, our breath. The very first thing we have in life. And as your breath softens you even deeper into the ground, notice how your face muscles are relaxing. Notice how your shoulders roll back and are supported on their mats as well. In and out, in and out. And from here, I'd like you just to feel the heaviness of your thighs. I'm going to ask you to take your right foot and put it on the ground. Just keep it there. Take your left heel and push it away. So I'm asking you to take your left leg and pull the muscles around the bone and try pushing your heel to the ground. See, notice how that chain reaction comes up the leg into the hip joint and almost causes a little bellowing inwards of the belly. Good, and now point your foot, feel the difference of your shin here, and then pull your heel away from your body again. And then point your toe, and then just relax that leg. So feel the difference of the relaxed leg and the one we had tension with. Okay, now bring your right knee into your chest, hold the back of that thigh, okay, and just pause here. And on your next inhalation, I want you to marry your inhalation with the lifting of your leg to the ceiling. So lift it up. You don't have to straighten it, just lift it. And then exhale, bend the knee. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bend. So really simple matching of breath to body movement. And you practice, you're always instructed to match your breath to your body. You'll always find me letting you know when to breathe in, when to breathe out. And if you don't get it, it's okay. The fact that you're noticing it, that's the win. One more time, inhale, lift your knee up. Exhale, bend your knee and put that foot on the ground. And then take your left foot, put it on the ground, left knee lifted. Grab your right heel and push it away from your body. You're feeling that contraction of the muscles on the body. And then push your heel to the ground so you feel that connection, the contraction coming up from the heel into the shin, the thigh, right into the lower belly. And then point your toe and flex it. Point it and flex it. Again, just noticing the subtle movements of your body is yoga. Yep, you're doing it. Good. And then on your next inhale, let that body release. So no tension on the leg at all. And now bring that right knee down and take the left knee into the body. And now all we're going to do is take the inhalation with the extension, heel to the ceiling, and breathe out, heel comes down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, heel comes down. Do that again. Inhale, lift. Exhale, heel comes down. One more time. Inhale, lift. And exhale, knee comes to the bend. Good. Put your foot on the ground. Now both knees are on the ground, or both feet are on the ground, knees are to the ceiling. I want you to take your arms and reach them up to the ceiling. Make little fists with your hands and then just circle your wrists in one direction and then circle them in the other direction. Okay, and now you're going to use your wrists to guide your shoulders and lift your hands overhead just as best you can. They don't have to go to the ground. And then come forward, always moving the wrists at the same time in your own. Bring your hands to the side body. Now push your feet into the ground. And the next time your hands reach for the ceiling, I want you to just give me a little hip lift, just a little hip lift. And then take your arms overhead again. And then drop your hips to the earth as the hands come to the side body. And then do that one more time. Push into the feet, inhale. You're lifting the collarbone, lifting the breastbone. And then coming back into a subtle movement back into the earth. Beautiful. And then just let the arms rest. Let your legs come out long again. See if you can bring your arms all the way up to the ceiling again. I want you to hook your thumbs now. Just hook your thumbs together. Okay, push into the ceiling. And now as the arms come overhead, feel the emptiness in the middle of the body. And as you pull your thumbs apart, you're hooked, but you're pulling them apart. Feel the contraction of the arms. Feel the contraction of the underbelly of the arms through the triceps and the sides into the shoulder. And then come all the way back up again. And then release the hook and hook in the other direction. Okay. The reason why we're doing this is I want you to feel how you can contract the muscles in the upper body by simply putting that tension in another part of the body. So we're hooking the thumbs, but the contraction comes on the outer arm. And now bring the arms back up again. Okay. We're going to feel this again in a different way. Release the arms. And then bring your feet up or your knees up, your feet on the ground. I want you to roll over onto your side and then float your body up into a tabletop position. As you bring yourself into tabletop, I want you to just have a look at your fingers. One of the most important aspects of hands on the ground is the knuckles on the ground. So spread your fingers as much as possible, but I want you to think about your index knuckle and push that down more, okay? And then let the other knuckles follow. So what we've done is we've taken out the pressure of the wrist. And now as you push down into your knuckles, I want you to take your belly button, let it wave upwards into the spine and come into cat. Okay, let the head hang, tops of your feet on the ground, but push them down as you kind of integrate the belly, the lower belly. And then as you drop your belly down and come into cow, we're going to wave the spine as we look up. And then we're going to come back into cat and then back into cow. And as you wave the spine, as we feel the healthy spine moving in a healthy way, these deeper connections to every vertebrae provides you the ability, the openness to witness to be a witness to the movement, to the weighting of your spine. Good, and now come into tabletop again. I'd like you to now take your left pinky finger, scoop it under your right hand and put your pinky fingers together. So the left hand comes under and your pinky fingers come together. Okay? And now all I'm going to get you to do is drop your left elbow, and then take your right hand and reach to the corner right of your mat. And now send your hips back a little bit. Move the left arm up a little bit and put your head on your arm. And now I want you to push down into the knuckles of the right arm again. And I want you to notice, remember that sensation when we were hooking our thumbs together? This kind of comes back to that. So this is about a quarter of a down dog because the right side body is active. It's part of that entire motion. Good, stay here for another breath. Exhale, push into the left elbow to lift up again. And now take both hands and bring them under the shoulders again. Go ahead and draw a cat and cow to life while we do this. Soften down, breathe, wave, and release the tension in the spine. Come back to tabletop. Now you're going to take the right pinky finger, feed it under the left armpit, and bring your left pinky fingers together. From here, drop the right elbow, take your left hand to the top corner of your left mat, and then sink down, move your arm so that your head has a place to lay itself. Push deeply again into the knuckles of the left hand and feel the underbelly of the left arm active. Again, another quarter downward facing dog. Enjoy a breath here. Let it fill the sides of your breath. Exhale. And now move again. Push into the right elbow. Come back into tabletop and allow your neck to be in line with the rest of your spine. Now curl the toes under. I'm going to walk the hips to the heels with the toes curled under. I'm just giving the bottom of your feet a little stretch. So think about pushing the bottom of your feet back. And this is where sometimes we tend to hold our breath. I want to invite you to draw breath in. Inhale here fully. And exhale. Nice. Walk yourself back into tabletop. I'd like you to take the right leg and bring it right under the shoulders. So from here, right knee directly over the right ankle. Stacking our joints makes them safe. I'm just going to get you to rock the body forward and back. We love doing this as we milk the joint. Remember I was talking about the fascia, mostly connective tissue with water. Okay, we like to milk the joints so that we have some beautiful gliding. Okay, knee, ankle, hip, both knees actually feeling this. Stay here for a breath. Keep the left hand on the ground. Bring the right hand onto the right knee. And all I'm going to get you to do is take the left rib cage and try to scoop it under the right. Okay, now take the tailbone and draw it upwards. Okay, just a beautiful, gentle twist. One that requires a little bit of strength. And as I'm pushing my right foot down with my right elbow, I'm actually kind of getting the stack joint from the elbow to the hand, to the knee, to the ankle. Come back to center. Now you're just going to take that knee and draw it past the toe. Top of your foot now comes on the ground. I'm going to walk you up the knee and I'm going to bring you into that hip gently, opening up the left hip. And now take the left arm, reach it up. Now here's a little play on fascia. As the left arm comes up, you're going to feel a little tug in the left hip. And now all I want you to do is bend your left elbow and pat yourself on the back. Okay, and now from here, I'm going to move my head into my elbow. I'm going to feel that kind of pull in the left hip. That's the fascia. One more breath here. Exhale, release the left arm. And then stack the knee over the ankle again. Bring your hands to either side of the body. And take that right foot and bring it back to tabletop. And then go ahead and take some cats and cows here. Enjoy how we wave again Let it go and bring your neck to a neutral place. Now take the left foot and bring it forward. And if you can't get it there, don't be afraid to take the back of your foot and just place it there. Okay, we're going to do what we did on the other side. Left hand comes onto the left knee. You take the right rib cage, scoop it under into and above the left rib cage. Okay, and then from here, I keep pushing into that left foot, stacking the joint safely. Enjoy another breath here and pick up your tailbone. So just by the lift of the tailbone, you may feel a little more release into that left hip. And then come back to center, fingertips to either side. Here we go again, rocking forward and back, giving yourself the ability to melt into and focus on those beautiful energies between the joints. And then the next time your knee is over your toes, keep it there. Untuck your back leg and then walk up through again into that right hip flexor now. From here, take the right arm, reach it up. Now, just that motion of reaching up, it's pulling the fascia under the skin and activating more stretch. Let's exaggerate that. Put your hand, pat yourself on the back, and push your head into your hand. So that simple motion is giving that tug all the way right side body. One more breath here. Reach up again with the arm. Bring your hands to either side of the foot and bring the knee over the ankle again. From here, curl the toe under, lift the knee off the ground, and I'm going to get you to bend that back leg to step forward into your forward fold. This is your first forward fold. I'd like you to bend your knees a lot. Remember that notion about ground softening? We need to actually find the foundation by bending the knees and soften into the ground. With the knees bent, I want you just to bring your hands to your shins and now extend the legs and then bend them. Once again, loosening the joints, folding down and backing off actually allows for more movement from the surrendering place. Soften down again, stay here for a breath. As you bend the knees again, breathe and draw yourself now up to your shins and pause. Pick up the tailbone, feel the tension around the legs. And as the knees are bent, we rise by extending the legs, lifting up, drawing that fascia almost like a sock up and coming up into a tall mountain. Okay, so in this tall mountain, I want you to just take note of your shoulders. We typically try to bring the shoulders up, up, up. I want you to bring them down into their sockets, so where they're safe. And then bring the hands to either side of the body. Here we are in mountain pose or Tadasana. Have a look at your feet, your ankles. We stack the joints for safety. And now just draw your shoulders away from your ears. Standing more than just placing the feet, but standing in your own presence, in your own power, in your own being. We're going to bring the hands to heart center, and I'm just going to drop the hips down into a little pose called chair pose, Uttanasana. Now I'm going to swing back and forth to some Sanskrit names, but I will always use the English form, chair or intense pose. This puts pressure, pulls the muscles around the bones, around the joints, and cascades that energy all the way down. Now practice the breath as you inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Inhale, lift. Again, as we're gliding the joints of the knees and the hips, this is very much what we were doing on our hands and knees, but this time from a standing posture. The next time you are folded down, stay here. Now with the knees bent, we are giving the opportunity for the spine to be long. Exhale the hands to the earth and keep the legs bent. As you do so, as the forward fold becomes into that long letting go place, we bring our neck to a neutral place. Is that softening for you? From here, put your hands on the ground as though you're already in plank. So I need you to push your fingers down, your fingerprints, like you're making a fingerprint on the mat. And then take the right knee down and back, and then the left. Take the hips to the heels and come back to that modified child's pose. Here, the armpits are wide open. Option here is to take the wrists off the ground. Like this is modified because the knees are together. Put your knuckles back on the ground and then slide the body up, up, up. Here we come into a modified plank. I'm keeping you on your knees because I want you to feel that ground force energy, again, from the ground up. Tops of your feet are on the ground. Elbows are directly over the wrists and the shoulders are directly over the elbows. Stay here for a breath. Now think of the front body, bring it to the back body, and then come back. Okay, here's a little play on breath. Exhale, come forward, and then come back. Exhale out, back. Exhale out, back. And one more time, we're in exhale back. Good, stay here. Bring yourself all the way back into that modified plank. Now I'm gonna ask you to curl the toes under, send your hips to your heels, and here we go. Bring the knees off the ground, but keep your knees bent and walk your feet in a little bit. From here, there's the full downward facing dog. Now, contrary to what we often see, the heels do not need to be on the ground. In fact, we give more generous space to the spine when the knees are bent. Why? Because the side body is provided to be long. Try not to just hang your head either. Keep the muscles around the neck subtle but on so that the head is aligned to the neck, to the spine. Stay here for another breath. Now I'd like you to tippy toe the feet forward with the knees bent. And as you do so, find a stretch in the back of the thigh, back of the calf, and come back to your forward fold. Push into the feet and then root to rise, come all the way up. And then bring your hands to heart center. Bring your hands to either side of your body, Tadasana. Give your arms a little shake as we really worked, and it was slow going. It was definitely slow going. So that means that we gave the muscles more to contract, which is a lot of strength. Now sit the hips back again, come into intense pose. Bring the hands to heart center. Stay here for a breath. Draw your fingertips to the ground. Keep the knees bent. Bring the right knee down and back, and then the left. Here we go into that modified push-up. From here, hips to heel. Stay here for a breath. Exhale, come into that modified push-up. Inhale, back, hips to heels. This time, modified push-up, you're going to stay there. Curl the toes under, bring the hips to the heels, bring the knees off the ground. As you do this, look, my knees are really bent here. I'm engaging the core in a bigger way. I need you to push into the fingertips and the knuckles more than the wrist. Stay here for one more breath. Tippy toe the feet forward again. We come back into that generous bend in the knees, and we allow ourselves to keep the low back spine in neutral as you push into the feet. This is important. Pushing into the feet, lift the tailbone, root to rise, come back into that tall mountain. Now you're going to bring your hands to your heart center. As the hands come to heart center, keep the hips forward. And I'm just going to get you to twist to one side, but keeping the hips forward, and then come back to center. So rotating to the other side, hips forward again. So kind of giving the spine a little massage, okay, by just using the twist motion. One more time, come back to center. Inhale and lift. Exhale, fold forward, bend the knees here. Now from here, I'd like you to take just the right foot back and stay here, okay? As you push your thigh bones away, we are in lunge. Now look forward, be proud in this lunge, breathe, and then imagine the hip joints, they're not compressing, but they're actually in a strong stance. Toe heel that left foot out. Look up. Good. One more breath here. You're going to keep that right hand on the ground. This is where you can use your block, by the way. the right hand on the block or the ground. By lifting the earth, it gives us more access to the body. Now we're going to take that twist to the inside. We did this when we were on our knee on the ground. If that's too much for you, if you think that I can find a little more joy with my knee on the ground, then go for it. Why not? Draw another breath in. Exhale. Bring the hand to either side of the foot. Okay, release the block. We'll come back to it. If your knee is on the ground, pick it up and then step forward, back into forward fold. Inhale, root to rise all the way. Lift, lift, lift. And then exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Do what we know. We're going to take that twist again over to one side. Hips stay forward. Come back to center. Look at how the spine is so subtle that it can just move like a rotisserie around your body. Come back to center. Inhale, lift. Bend the knees, sink back. Hands come to the earth. This time, we're going to take that left leg back. Here we are in lunge. Toe, heel that right foot out. Push your thighs away from each other. Look up and be proud. Now do a little body check here. Where's the knee in relation to the ankle? It should be stacked. Why? Because it's safe for the joints this way. I'm going to use my block to the inside of that foot. Let my left hand release to the block. And then again, I'm going to lift the arm up by taking the left rib cage over the right and just spreading my wings. Can you draw your shoulder blades further apart? Option again is to be on the back knee. No shame in this. Okay, what brings you more joy? How about we take that shame and turn it into joy in the body? One more breath here. Exhale, bring the hand back to center. Release the block. Curl the toe under if it's not already there. Lift the knee up. Bend the knee. Here goes that ground force reaction to step forward, back into forward fold. Activating through the ground, through the softness of the earth, provides us the movement so that we can go past and transition point to point. Bend the knees, root to rise, come all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. One time, either side, back to the rotation and center, other side and center. Beautiful. Here we go. Inhale, lift, bend the knees, exhale. Always transitioning. Keep the knees bent. Right leg back, pause, drop the knee. Left leg back, pause. Here we are in little push up. Exhale, heels to hips. And come back to little push up again. Do that one more time. Heels and hips together. Back to little push up. Good. Curl the toes under. Gain that contraction around the belly in the spine. Head is neutral and contained with the toes curled under. Send the hips back. And now lift the knees. Here we go. Back into our downward facing dog. Have a look at the hands. Just look at your hands for a moment. You're going to take them a little bit wider than the shoulders. Okay? And then that middle finger is pointing pretty much up, a little to either side. And the head remains controlled through the spinal contraction. Can you bring your shoulder blades a little closer together? Remember, bringing the arm sockets in. If that's too much for you, there's a way to come onto the ground and you can just find it here. Okay, we're still contracting. The knees are supporting us from the earth, but we're still looking towards that beautiful contraction in the underbelly. If you're in downward facing dog, again, bend your knees, look forward. You're going to walk back up to the top of your mat. Stay here. Inhale. Exhale, bend the knees, root to rise, come back to that neutral place and bring your hands to heart center. Stay here for a breath. Enjoy it. And exhale, sink the hips back, hands come to the earth. Now you're going to take the right knee down and back and then the left. We're coming into tabletop just for a moment. Go ahead and wave the spine again, become a part of the foundation. And now you're going to take your hips to your heels and pause here. Okay, just like the earth, every once in a while we need to reset, soften down. surrender a little closer to the earth with the whole body. And soften what you can in each breath. And then coming back into a seated place. Now I'm going to ask you to use your block here. I also have like a pillow that sometimes I sit on, but I'm going to use my block to sit on. So why is that? If you have two blocks and you have two buttocks, you might want to use two. That's fine too. I'm going to use two today. Or actually, I'm going to use one. I'm going to go back to one. And I'm just going to find that seat on my block. So seated postures are not easy. Why? Because often we feel like we need to have this, huge flexibility in the legs. And trust me, you really find some release when you're sitting on a block because your knees are tending to be lower than your hips. Seated doesn't mean that you're seated and the muscles in the seat are the ones working. It's actually in the lower abdominals that are working in the seat. So I just want you to sit cross-legged. If that doesn't work, you can even bring the knees forward. That works too. It's just a simple twist. To twist, we root down, so you should feel the sitting bones on the ground, and take the right hand to the left knee, take the left hand behind, keep pushing down on both of your sitting bones, and then take the heart over. Just a gentle twist. We did this standing, but now that we're on the ground, we have something more to root down into. So the lumbar spine, the lower spine, the middle spine finds their way. Good, and then come back to center. Again, if you're crossing legs, then just uncross and cross in the other direction. Left hand to the right knee, right arm behind you, lift through the crown of your head, and then rotate like that rotisserie on your spine and just have a look over. Okay, every yoga practice should contain some kind of twist. Okay, it just provides that ability for, again, the spine to release even the organs. They say sometimes that it releases toxins. Come back to center, beautiful. And then from here, I'm going to get you to remove yourself from the block. Okay, I'm going to get you to come back onto your backs. And wasn't that fun? You're going to just bring your heels to the back, lift the chest, and slowly engage the core as you come down. That's a little fun. And now we're coming into the relaxation part. Can you believe it? It's already been there. The relaxation part. But before we go there, I want you just to take a breath, just like we did before. And when you breathe in, imagine the breath breathing in. And when you breathe out, you can even say the words, I'm breathing out. Breathe in and breathe out. I will sit up as I take you through the Shavasana so that we can connect together. And as you find yourself in this lengthening of your body, I want you to let go of any expectations of what it should feel like. I mean, we are laying on our body. We are laying on Mother Earth. The only thing you need to do is be. Be on your back. Be in your body. In and out with your breath. Enjoy the subtleness of where you're at right now. Imagine as you lay on Mother Earth, imagine the outline of your body. Imagine that outline represented by a beautiful light. I'm asking you to bring that light inward, like your internal lantern, scoping out from the head, the space between the ears and the jaw, the connection to the middle of your throat. As you gaze through your fingers, your wrists, your arms, as you notice the connection of your arms to your body and your torso. Your torso almost like a highway, divided as it reaches your hips from one leg to the other, from one knee to the other, from one ankle to the other. And as you notice these parts of your body, maybe even just kind of thinking about the ankles here, the soles of your feet, do you notice a certain energy level just by thinking of them, just by bringing your mind's attention to your right foot and your left foot? When you think of just your right foot, do you notice the sense of energy heightened? And when you sway to noticing your left foot, do you notice the subtle shift of energy? And when you bring both your feet into your mind, do you notice this exchange, almost a pulsing, a spanda? For where your mind goes, your energy flows. Sit with that entire inward notice of your full body now. And as you imagine the underlayer of your skin, simply notice how you rise from your skin outwards now into your external senses. The taste in your mouth, the temperature on your skin, the sounds around you, even the patterns behind your eyelids. And slowly send the energy to your ankles and to your wrists. That's what we did at the beginning of our practice, and just give them those little circles, slowly, meaningfully. And let your wrists and palms open and close. And then go ahead and take your arms overhead, slowly representing the full length, the meridian of your body, north and south. And then exhale. Do that again, inhale. And then go ahead and grab your knees into your chest, hug them tightly, like they're a close friend you haven't seen in a long time. And then either rolling to your right side or taking the backs of your legs, go ahead and use momentum to have you slide up into a seated posture. And in our practice, we seal our practice with some kind of mudra, some kind of representation of the hands. Often it's the hands of Anjali, the hands that come together to the heart center. That's where we're going to end our practice today, the hands to heart center. And in this beautiful, energetic moment, we're going to find the breath to inhale to, make room for the exhale. Do that one more time. Inhale and exhale. And we close our practice with the word namaste. But really, it could be any word, the word that brings us together and brings us to the recognition of our own light and the light that we connect with each other. Thank you so much for partaking in our first practice. And may this gratitude be felt deep within you. Namaste.